Welcome to SIUK India webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We are now live with University of Kent. Today we have Emma with us, who will let us know about this special webinar session. We will answer all the questions after the presentation during the Q&A session. So let's start the webinar. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. As Priyanka mentioned, my name is Emma, and I am the International Officer for India here at the University of Kent. And I'm delighted to be with you today to tell you a little bit more about our university and why you should consider Kent for your future studies in the years to come. So I do have a few slides, so just bear with me for a couple of seconds while I connect them. Okay, hopefully you can all see that okay. So for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to what it's like to study here at the University of Kent. And I'm really going to highlight some of the unique aspects and the things that you would be able to gain if you were to choose Kent as your preferred university here in the UK. So without further ado, I always find it's useful to give you a very brief introduction in terms of what is the University of Kent, you know, what are some of the key highlights about it. So we were established in 1965, so we've been around for a few years now. And the great thing is that we are a top 50 UK university, so it gives you an idea about kind of the reputation and the standing that we have here in the UK. One of the unique things about the University of Kent is that we are very much a research-led teaching university. And what that means is that all of the academic staff that we have teaching the courses here at Kent are not only academics in their own right, but they also are involved with research and professional work in their respective area. So what you will find is that all of the courses that we offer, both at undergrad and postgraduate level, are not only based on the academic knowledge that's already out there, but also we're based on the research that the teachers and the lecturers are conducting alongside their teaching itself. So it's a really good way to get the academic background, but also having kind of that sort of first-hand exposure to current issues that are going on in those respective areas. So it's a really good way to keeping current. And because of that, we are recognised as a research-led teaching university. We are ranked in the top 20 for research intensity, and it really goes to demonstrate kind of the relevance of the degree programmes that we offer. As well as being a research-led institution, we are very much seen as an international university as well. In 2020, we were ranked in the top 10% of the world's universities for international outlook. We do welcome a large proportion of international students to come and study here at Kent each year. Last year, our student population was around 18,000 students to study that last year, and that within that body, there were around 164 different nationalities. So it gives you a sense of kind of the multicultural community we have here at Kent. And it's not just within the student population as well. Almost 40% of our academic staff are from outside of the UK. So again, it helps to give you that kind of international perspective when it comes to delivery of our courses. So now you have a little bit of an introduction about Kent. I want to sort of focus on some of the unique things about the university and why we think you should select us as your chosen place of study. So firstly, one of the great things about the University of Kent is our stunning locations. We are very fortunate to have 4 campuses in total, each of them based on fantastic areas. So we have 2 campuses that are based here in the UK. So under this kind of very sort of basic map, it gives you an idea about our location, but also our close proximity to London as well, because I know that is something that many students do look for when they are selecting their universities. So we have our Canterbury campus, which is our main campus, and that is just within an hour's train ride from central London. Our second campus in the UK is Medway, which is a little bit closer to London. It's within sort of 40 minutes or so. But both of them are fantastic campuses to be based at, and I will go into a little bit more detail about them shortly. One of the unique things about Kent is that we do have both campuses in the UK, but also in Europe as well. So it is something that not all UK universities offer. So we do have two specialist postgraduate centres, one based in Brussels and one based in Paris. And I will go into a little bit more detail shortly about the courses that are available at these campuses. So firstly, just focusing on the Canterbury campus, as you can see from the image, it's a very large campus. It's set in a sort of green, lots of wide open spaces. If you can picture sort of the campus being on top of a hill that's overlooking the Canterbury city centre. I'm sure many of you have heard of Canterbury before. It is a World UNESCO Heritage Site. It's the home of the Canterbury Cathedral, which receives thousands of visitors each year. But one of the really great things about Canterbury city centre is just within a 20-minute walk from campus, or a 10-minute bus ride if the weather doesn't allow you to walk that far. And so it's really having that close proximity to a city centre is really great for our students. Having access to the facilities and the services that a city would offer you is right on your doorstep. And one of the really great things about Canterbury City itself is it is very much seen as a university town. And one of the interesting things I always mention to students, particularly from India, in that when you think about cities, you know, your big cities, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, etc., are enormous, not just in population, but also in kind of space and area as well. But Canterbury, despite it being a city, is actually really small. I think it has a population of around 20 to 30,000 people. So it gives you a sense of how small it is. But because of that, I think that gives a really good character. It's a very close-knit community, and it has lots of services that support students because it is a very much seen as a university town. Going back to the Canterbury campus, so the vast majority of students are based at our Canterbury campus. And the good thing about it does offer students that kind of all-in-one campus experience. So as well as having access to first-class facilities, both on the academic side, but also on the recreational side as well, whether it be a sports centre, theatre or a cinema, there is also just over 5,000 accommodation rooms available on campus as well. So the vast majority of students, particularly international students in their first year, would stay on campus. And so it's a great way to start your Kent journey, being so close to everything. If you are lucky enough to select a course that's based at our Medway campus, it's very similar to Canterbury in terms of the facilities that are available. One of the differences between the Medway and campus compared to the others is that it is a sort of a slightly smaller area, but it's no less exciting. It's actually based on a formal naval area. So it's a very historical part of Kent, and lots of the buildings have maintained and sort of interact with the historical area, the history of that particular area. It is, as I said, a little bit smaller, but I personally think that that's an advantage because it does allow that kind of close-knit campus community on the Medway area. Many of our programs, particularly medical programs, journalism or film, and some of the business programs as well, are delivered on the Medway campus. So if you are selecting those courses, just to be aware that you know the Medway is not too far from Canterbury, and as I said, it's very close to London as well. Like Canterbury, has lots of accommodation nearby, so for students to have that kind of 5-10 minute walk access to the Canterbury, to the Medway campus as needed. And as I mentioned, Kent being unique in terms of having two campuses in Europe. And one of the really great things about this is that we do have sort of two dedicated postgraduate centres that specialise in certain areas. So in Europe, in Brussels, I should say, it is the home of the Kent-Brussels School of International Studies, which does exactly what it says on the tin in terms of it focuses very much on international relations, politics and law. So if you are looking at these particular subjects at postgraduate level, it might be worth considering being based at the Brussels campus because it gives you that exposure to that particular area of specialism. For the Paris campus, it's very much focused on arts and culture. Because of Paris obviously being known as a cultural centre, it's a really great place to be based if you are looking to do those particular courses. One of the things to note about both the Paris and the Brussels campus is that all of the postgraduate courses that are offered at these centres have a little bit of flexibility in terms of start dates. So many of the postgraduate courses at these centres will offer both a September intake, but also a January intake as well. So again, if you are looking at these particular subject areas and want a little bit more flexibility in terms of your start date, then again, looking at these campuses is definitely a right move for you. So one of the really great things about the University of Kent is giving students a lot of study options to choose from. And our mantra here at Kent is very much focused on providing students with the platform to succeed, whatever their future plans may be. So it's about giving you a choice and a good varied choice of subjects that you want to look at. So we currently have over 400 programs available to study here at Kent, and that can be the vast majority are undergraduate, but we do have a large program of postgraduate masters and postgraduate research courses as well for you to choose from. And the really great thing is that we offer it a wide range of subject areas. So whether it be in business, computing, or in law, or whether it be in other areas such as architecture, psychology, or film and journalism, we're guaranteed to have the course that's right for you. So it's definitely worth having a look on our website to see a full list and a full breakdown of the courses that we have. For those of you who are looking for foundation or pre-sessional programs, we do have that available for international students as well, particularly for undergraduate students who want to do a foundation year before they do their bachelor's. Then you can do that here at the University of Kent. I'm not going to go through every individual program because otherwise we would be here for the foreseeable future, but I definitely would recommend having a look on our website, as I said, because there's a full list of all the different subjects on there. It's worth noting that many of the programs that we offer, both the undergraduate and postgraduate, offer accreditations. So for example, the MBA program is accredited by the Association of MBAs. Many of the psychology programs are accredited by the British Psychological Society. And the biosciences programs are run in conjunction with the Royal Society of Biology. So again, it gives you that indication of the strength of the courses, and in particular for students who are looking to get that competitive edge when it comes to employability afterwards. Future employers really do value not just having a degree, but having something that's accredited by a professional body is definitely a major plus for your CV. So I always recommend having a look at courses, particularly those where it comes with accreditation, because it's definitely something good for your future career. In terms of the tuition fees, they do range depending on what course you choose. They range from about 17,000 up to 21,000 in total per year. All of the individual course fees are available on the course pages themselves, so definitely have a look at that when you're looking through them. We all know that at this time of year, particularly for undergraduate students, you're getting your high school results coming through, and so you might be considering looking to study for September 22 intake. So here in the UK, we are in that process of clearing, which I'm sure many of you have heard of already. And it's very much kind of students who are looking to apply for undergraduate programs have to go through the clearing process. There are a few things to bear in mind if you are looking to apply through clearing. We are currently open and you can apply now, but there are a couple of things you need to be aware of in terms of eligibility. You can only apply through clearing if you have applied through UCAS before, but you didn't receive any offers before the end of June. Or if your exam results were not quite what you were expected, or indeed if you've had a change of heart and you feel that the course that you applied for is not quite what you want to do and you want to change to a different program, then again, you can do that through the clearing process. The other thing as well, if you haven't applied to UCAS before and your late application, then again, you can do that through clearing. So at the University of Kent, there are two main ways to apply through clearing. You can do it through UCAS. So if you have done a UCAS application before, you have to go into your UCAS hub, which was formerly the UCAS track, and that's where you can select the courses that you want to be considered for. Alternatively, if you haven't applied to UCAS before and it's your first time applying to UK university, then you can apply directly to the University of Kent. So if you go onto the individual course pages on our website, you will see a button on each screen saying apply now, and that will take you through to our online application form that you can complete. The key thing to note, as I mentioned right at the start, is that you do have to have your results ready. So you can only apply for a clearing once you have your results through. And I know, particularly in India, some exam boards, they're slightly delayed. So just to kind of bear that in mind, that you do need to have your results before you can begin the application process. So now I want to focus a little bit on what it actually means to be a student here at the University of Kent. And what we do in terms of, giving students that inspirational student experience, because we know that studying abroad is not just about doing an academic degree. It's about getting that full engaging student experience of studying overseas. And how do we do that here at Kent? So firstly, we provide a number of different ways that you can build on your degree. So we have a lot of initiatives that students can get experience and exposure to different areas outside of the course that they are doing. So things such as extracurricular activities or co-curricular activities that are assigned that go alongside your course is something that all students have available to them. We have initiatives such as the Study Plus program, which allows you to get experience and knowledge of different areas outside of your degree. So say, for example, that you're doing a business program, but you're quite interested to learn a new language as well, then the Study Plus program will allow you to do that alongside your current studies. One of the other great things that the University of Kent offers its students is work experience opportunities. And we know that in this day and age, students, as well as academic studies, they do need to have interest, and they have availability of getting that kind of work experience, practical opportunities to build on their academic studies. And what you will find is that many of the degree programs we have here at Kent offer what we call placement year or year in industries, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level as well. So for the undergraduate courses, the placement year is often sandwiched in the middle. So you often do the placement year in between the second and third year of your degree. For the masters, you would do it after you've completed the 1 year of your masters. So again, if it is something you're looking for, then definitely look out for the year in industry or the placement year on the course options available. I know that many of the business programs, computing programs, for example, biosciences, might offer placement or internship opportunities, so definitely worth looking out for that. There are lots of other ways that students can get extra sort of curricular skills or enhancements of things such as our Q-Step Centre, which builds on things such as quantitative skills. So if maths is not your area and it's an area you want to develop some more experience in, then getting involved with the Kent Q-Step Centre is definitely one way of looking at it. Outside of kind of your academic degree and sort of the extracurricular activities, one thing that we do offer our students here at the University of Kent is getting involved with kind of things outside of your studies. And we do that, we do that, the Kent Union does that as a way of offering students that kind of engagement opportunity. And one of the key things to note is that the Kent Union is run by students, and it's representing students. So the university as a whole do not get involved with that. It's very much run by the student body themselves. And they offer lots of ways that you can engage with other students, whether it be through the social aspects. They offer it, they organise parties and balls and theme nights at the nightclub. So lots of different ways for you to kind of, relax and meet other people. But also other services they offer as well, such as academic support or advice about finance or housing. So very often what we find is that students will often prefer to talk to other students rather than sort of, coming directly to the university first. So having this kind of support mechanism is really vital. And I definitely would encourage everybody to get actively involved with the Kent Union, because it's a really great way to kind of meet people and enjoy a fully immersive student experience here at Kent. So alongside that, they do have a lot of clubs and societies. So this word infographic ball will give you an idea about the different types of clubs and societies we have here at Kent. There are far too many to go through, but as you can see, they're quite diverse in subject areas. So whether if it's reading club, cooking, or if it's sport, or whether it's comedy, or whether it's television, or whether it's Bollywood dancing, there's guaranteed to have something for everybody. There's a really active Indian society as well. It's definitely worth getting involved with them. They bring together not just all of the students from India, but they also involve other students outside as well. So they do a lot of kind of cultural or heritage celebrations during the year, particularly sort of religious festivals and so on. So it's a really great way to kind of keep involved with the Indian students here at Kent. And alongside that, there's lots of other ways for you to get involved and be active. So as I mentioned, both our campuses at Canterbury and Medway have sports facilities available. So whether it's gym, whether if it's football, tennis, cricket, basketball, or whether it's things such as doing Pilates or yoga or another sort of range of classes as well, all of this is available to students. If sport is not your thing, don't worry, there's lots of other ways to get involved, whether it's sort of the theatre, whether it's the cinema, or whether it's attending or even participating in arts or music performances. So again, it's a really active way to get involved with things that are going on at the campuses. So as I mentioned right at the beginning, part of our ethos that we have here at Kent is offering students a really enjoyable and satisfying experience while they're studying here. And one of the things that we do offer is a fully equipped campus, whether it be at Canterbury and Medway. And one of the really great things I definitely want to highlight for you is the accommodation. So both campuses have lots of accommodation options available for students. So just focusing initially on the Canterbury accommodation, there's over about 5,000 rooms available across the different areas of the campus. And the good thing is that we have a wide range of prices to suit all budgets. So whether if it's ensuite rooms, whether it's rooms with shared facilities, lots of different options for you to select from. All of the rooms will come with a shared kitchen / communal area. Often you would share that with sort of 6 to 8 other students. And it's a really great way to meet people and build a really good, strong network whilst you're studying. So definitely would encourage you to look at accommodation on campus. Some of the key things to be aware of is that you don't need to pay a deposit to reserve your accommodation. So as soon as you do get an unconditional offer from Kent, you can just go onto the accommodation pages on the website and then reserve the room that you want. Given the time that we're at, I definitely would encourage you to act quickly or on the accommodation because they are starting to fill up fast. And as soon as you do get your offer, then just go on there and reserve your room. In terms of prices, they range from about £4,000 up to £13,000 per year. So again, definitely have a look at the full breakdown of the costs on the website. And similarly, the Medway campus is very similar to Canterbury in terms of the facilities that it offers to students. One of the really great things about the Medway accommodation is that it actually has a guaranteed offer, including clearing applicants. So if you are applying through clearing, then you're guaranteed to have a room at the Medway accommodation if your course is based there. So very similar in terms of the facilities, all the utility bills are included. You would have access to large ensuite accommodations with sort of large common rooms. It includes things such as insurance, free Wi-Fi, and there's also kind of 24-hour security and reception available should you need it. The cost of the Medway is slightly different to Canterbury in that it ranges in between £5,000 to up to £7,000 per year. Again, a full breakdown is on the respective accommodation pages. And to finish with, before I know there's probably a few questions, I just want to finish off very quickly with giving you a sort of very brief 1-minute video to give you a bit of insight in terms of what it's like to study here at the University of Kent. Hopefully this works.
All journeys start with a single step, a moment of discovery, a new perspective, a connection to the possible. Find your meaningful connections and become part of something bigger. Discover a place with real history that's only half written. Expand your thinking and immerse yourself in new realities, exciting challenges, and unexpected possibilities. Join a community of creative minds, exploring ideas and opportunities to shape our world for the better. Wherever your journey takes you, make the connections that matter at the University of Kent.
And I suppose before we move into the Q&A section, I suppose just for me to sort of reiterate that the University of Kent is a fantastic university to consider for whether it's undergrad or postgraduate studies. Each year we welcome a large number of Indian students to come and study with us. I think last year we had around 160 students, and we're hoping to beat that this year. And so it's a really good university, very supportive. There's lots of ways that you can build on your employability in terms of your future careers. But there's also a really good support mechanism that we offer to students as well, whether it be through the welfare team, or whether it be through the finance, or through the career centre as well. So there's lots of ways that you would get that support during your studies, but also after your studies as well. It's definitely worth having a look at our website. There's lots of information, but on social media channels as well, some really great videos about what it's like to actually be a student here at Kent, and particularly sort of giving you a bit more insight in terms of what we're like as a university, what it's like to study in this part of the UK. Kent as an area is a fantastic location in terms of the UK, offering lots of different sort of opportunities for students to get involved in different areas of UK life, but also being close to London as well, having that added benefit. So thank you very much for listening to me today, and hopefully I've been able to give you a bit more insight into what it's like to study at the University of Kent. And I'll hand over to Priyanka in case you guys have any questions for us.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you for taking out your time and giving us this insightful presentation. Now, time for the Q&A session. We'll start the Q&A session. I will read out the questions from the YouTube chat box. So the first question is, are there on-campus accommodation for postgraduate student with a child or family available?
So there is a dedicated postgraduate accommodation on the Canterbury campus. It's called Wolf College, but it is only offered for single occupancy. So for students who are bringing family members, whether it be children or other family members with them, often they would have to stay off of campus in order to sort of obviously all stay together. But one of the really great things about both Canterbury and Medway campuses is that they're quite close to large kind of accommodation towns, so to speak, particularly Canterbury. All of the housing out on the outskirts of the campus, a lot of students would stay in there as well. So if you do have to stay off of campus, then there are lots of opportunities to do that.
So the second question is, hi Emma, I have 1 year gap in my studies, so will I be eligible?
Yes, absolutely. It's not something that we will sort of, we don't reject people based on that, the fact that they have gaps. I think the key thing to know about your application is if you do have a gap of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, you do need to explain in your application what you were doing during that time. So if you are working, whether it be kind of paid or voluntary work, then definitely highlight that in your application. If you were doing other things, maybe personal reasons, whether it's family things, then just kind of refer to that in your personal statement to explain why there is a gap there. But absolutely, it won't be a problem.
Okay, so the next question is, what makes the management department at the University of Kent unique?
That's a really fantastic question, actually. And I think management and particularly business management as a whole is a program and is a subject area that we do really excel in here at the University of Kent. So the management programs are delivered by the Kent Business School. So the Kent Business School is one of the leading business schools, not just in the UK, but also internationally. It's in that 1% top bracket of universities that have triple accreditation. So we are in that 1% top universities globally for business. And I think one of the really fantastic things about the business and management programs is the opportunity it offers students to not only develop their own management and leadership skills and knowledge, but it also gives them exposure to different industries. So one of the things that this course will do or will offer you is the chance to network and engage with professionals in different sectors, whether it be healthcare, finance, or entrepreneurship areas. It allows you access and exposure to these individuals so you can learn from other people as well and build up those relationships and build up those networks that you could potentially use in the future. Oh,
Sorry, I was in mute. Okay, so
no, I wasn't sure if it was my technical issue or not.
no. So the next question is, are there scholarship available for Jan intake and what is the deadline?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of scholarships, we do have some available for the January starts. They tend to be for postgraduate courses and they tend to be subject specific. So, for example, if you're looking at a law program, there may be scholarships available for between sort of £3,000 to £5,000. Usually the deadlines are around sort of October, November time. So my advice is to obviously submit your application as soon as you can for the January program. And then once you do get your offer through, whether it be conditional or unconditional, you can then apply for the scholarships that are available to you. One of the key things to note about many of the scholarships we have here at Kent, they tend to be academic or merit-based. So often students who are awarded the scholarships tend to have very high academic records. So just to give you an example, the scholarships that were awarded for the September 22 intake, most of the students had high GPAs of around 9.5 and above, or sort of 90% for the standard 12 qualifications. So it's extremely high, and because of that, it's extremely competitive as well. So definitely worth having a look on the scholarship pages on the website to see what funding is available.
Thank you, Emma. So the next question is, should we have GMAT and IELTS mandatory for masters? I have 8 years of work experience and 4 years of managerial experience.
Mm-hmm. So GMAT is not a requirement, so you don't need to do that, don't need to submit that. For postgraduate programs, you do need to do an English language test. So I think for most of our master's programs, it tends to be 6.5 overall as a minimum, with at least 6 in the reading and the writing bands. But some programs have a higher requirement. So for example, the linguistics or the languages programs tend to be around 7. I know the law program as well often asks for a 7 overall in IELTS. But the really good thing is that we accept a large variety of English language tests. So you can have an IELTS, Pearson, TOEFL. We also currently accept Duolingo as well, which I know is often an easier option for students because it is very quick and easily accessible. So definitely when you are applying, all the information about the English language requirements are on the website. One key thing to know about English language is that you don't need to take a test before you submit your application. So you can submit your course application now and then do your tests sort of immediately afterwards and provide the results at a later date.
Thank you, Emma. So the next question is there any opportunity to take a placement? If so, will the university organize this?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the short answer is yes. Many of the programs that we offer, both the undergrad and postgrad, have a placement or a year in industry opportunity attached to the course. One of the key things, and I always try and stress this when I'm talking to students, is that the word placement can be a little bit misleading, because if someone said to me, oh, placement year, you might think that you would be put somewhere. And in fact, it's completely opposite. It's not the case at all here at Kent. The placement year is very much driven by the student themselves. So the onus is on the individual to go out and secure their own placement itself. But I think that's a really good thing in terms of it gives students ownership of it. It gives students the choice about where they want to go. And it also gives you that experience of actually going through a recruitment process. Because once you've graduated and once you start your career, everybody has to go through the same process of looking for jobs. So that means working on your CV, going, doing an application form, attending an interview, all of these things you would have to do when you're beginning your career. And so actually doing it during your studies is a really good starting point, and it gives you that kind of a step ahead of others who've not gone through that experience already. The key thing and the biggest advice I can give you about placement years or year in industries, it does rely on you being proactive, and it's really important to start the process early. So, for example, within the Kent Business School, they have a placement team, an employability team, and their main role is to support students when it comes to securing placements, during their degree or afterwards. And so actually reaching out to this team early as you can in the start of your degree will really kind of put you on that right course to giving you sufficient time to get the placement already in place. Because it does take a few months to sort of, figure out what kind of placement you want to do, and then go through the process of approaching them and then interviewing and so forth. But the really great thing is that the types of placements that students have done in the past are quite varied. So we've had students that have worked with banking, so HSBC, for example, also entertainment, so whether it's Disney or whether it's kind of other sort of online sort of entertainment providers, technology as well. So Google, Microsoft, all of those places have welcome placements from Kent. But also there are lots of other sort of smaller scale placements that you can do. A lot of students would look maybe to working in a local charity or healthcare sector or pharmaceuticals, for example. All of these different options would be available to students depending on what interests you have.
So the next question is, are there any jobs on campus available for students?
Yeah, so this is something we do get asked quite a lot. So as an international student, you can work whilst you're studying, and you're permitted to work up to 20 hours per week on a part-time basis. So a lot of students would do that to help supplement their income, because we know that studying it can sometimes be costly, for everybody, regardless if you're at home or an international student, it can be quite expensive. And so actually doing, working whilst you're studying is definitely something that might help financially. On campus, both at Canterbury and Medway campuses, we do have jobs. So all of the shops, the restaurants, the cafes, sports centre, theatre, all of these areas are staffed by the students themselves. So if there are vacancies, they would be advertised on campus. But just to kind of warn you that there probably are 20 to 30 jobs available on campus, but then there's a population of 18,000 students. So jobs, they are very competitive, and often what you will find is the vast majority of students would go and work outside of the campus, whether it be in Canterbury or whether it be in London, for example. So there are opportunities for you to do that whilst you are studying. Oh, Priyanka, you're on mute again.
Okay, so the next question is, I am a visually impaired student, so can I get admission at University of Kent?
Yes, I mean, we welcome students with a range of kind of sort of assistance needs. I think the key thing to note is that we do have a fantastic student support services that provide lots of different support mechanisms for students with varying different kind of disabilities or different kind of support mechanisms they need. I think the key thing to note about it is for you to, once you do get your offer from Kent, is to reach out to the student support services to highlight, what you would need in terms of assistance. And then they would then meet with you once you do arrive, and then they would then discuss with you what kind of, support mechanism you need and what steps will be put into place. So they are fantastic at providing that additional services and different additional supports that students need, depending on sort of what area they need the assistance with. So yes, absolutely, it definitely will not be a problem here at the University of Kent.
The next question is, what is the employability rate for postgraduates?
So, the most recent survey we did, I think our employability rate was about 93%. So 93% of those who returned the survey were in full-time work within 6 months of graduating from Kent. So it's a very strong employability. And I think one of the advantages of choosing Kent is that because we're obviously here in the UK, students, international students will be able to apply for the graduate route as well. So whether you are doing an undergraduate program or a postgraduate program, once you have successfully completed that course, you can then apply to remain in the UK for up to 2 years for work purposes. So again, it's a really good way to kind of get some work experience, and then hopefully will help you in terms of career progression once you do return home.
So the next question is, can I enroll for Masters in Law without any work experience?
Yes, absolutely. I think there are only a small number of courses that require work experience. I think the main one I'm thinking of is the MBA program. So for the law programs, you don't need to have any work experience, and often you might need to have some background in whatever subject you're looking to do, but often it's literally just a case of you have to have a degree that meets a certain level to get entry onto it. So the law program it tends to be quite flexible in terms of students' experiences and backgrounds.
Yeah. So the next question is, what happens if I want to change my major in the middle of a semester?
Yeah, I mean, it does happen. I mean, we all know in life, if you start something and you figure out it's not quite right for you, then absolutely, it is something that you may be able to do. I think the key thing to note is that it's important to do it as early as you can. So often within the first, few weeks of your course, if you think, yeah, this is not quite right for me, I want to switch majors, then you just need to contact your academic supervisor and discuss with them what options are available. Often, this has to be done within the first semester. If you leave it until kind of the second or third semester, it might be too late to transfer to the other course, and you might have to start it again from scratch the following intake. So it's important to make sure that if it isn't quite right for you, to flag it as early as you can.
So the next question is, in my undergraduate BBA, I have 70%. Can I eligible for MBA?
So academically, I know the MBA program, 70% will be fine for that. I think the key thing for the MBA program is the work experience requirement. So you do have to have at least 3 years, and it has to be managerial work experience. That's often the part that people sort of, miss out on. It has to be managerial experience. So for students who haven't got as much experience as that, or experience at that level, what we do recommend is that you might consider doing another of the postgraduate programs that look at things such as leadership or international business management, which is very much geared towards students who are at the start of their career, because the MBA program is very much geared towards people who have already got a well-established career, who have that level of work experience at that particular level. So if you don't have that, then I definitely would encourage you to have a look at the other management programs, because they don't have that work experience requirement.
Yeah. So the next question is, CAS interview is compulsory and my many days can get a CAS after applying.
So CAS interviews, that they're not compulsory. The vast majority of students will be processed, their CAS will be processed without having to do an interview. There have been some instances, very small number, I would say, that if the CAS team have additional questions, then often what they will do is they will just ask the student to attend a quick call, Zoom call, whatever channel it's going to be, so they can just clarify some things with them, because sometimes it is easier to speak to people rather than email and back and forth. So that might happen, but it's very rare. It doesn't happen very often. It's only when things need to be clarified. In terms of the CAS issuance process, generally it's pretty quick to issue a CAS, to be honest with you. It very much relies on the individual student to have all of the necessary documentation. So when the CAS team, they will be notified of an applicant as soon as they go unconditional. So as soon as you get your unconditional offer, you then get transferred to the CAS team. And usually within a matter of a couple of days, they will email you to request lots of information. Often it will be information relating to your finances. So they need to have evidence of how you're going to pay for your studies. And so often they will be asked for evidence of funding, so both your tuition fees, but also maintenance as well. So for many students, particularly from India, I know many of you may be doing kind of going down the bank loan route. And so what you would need to do is provide a letter from your bank, which just confirms the details of the loan that they are giving to you. If it is being sort of self-funded, so whether it's you or family members that are supporting you, you have to provide a bank statement which shows your maintenance and your fees, the full amount, and it has to be held in that account for at least 28 days. So that's the key thing to note, is that you do have to have this 28-day statement already before your CAS can be issued. So I think if you are, particularly if you are looking for a September 22 intake, and whilst you are applying, it's really important to maybe work on the finance side as well, because then as soon as you do get your offer, you won't have to wait another 28 days before your CAS can be issued.
Okay. So the last question is, I didn't score good in my senior secondary, but I scored first division in my undergraduate.
Okay.
Then will there be any issue, or they consider only undergraduate marks for masters?
So generally for the master's programs, we tend to look at the undergraduate results. So we would look at sort of your CGPA from your bachelor's. That will be primarily what we would refer to. We may, in some instances, look at if your course, for example, needs good level of mathematics, then we might look at your standard 12 or your standard 10 to see what you scored in those particular subject areas. But the bulk of the sort of assessment will be made on your undergraduate degree.
Okay, so the last question is which finance documents are required for enrollment?
Are required for enrollment. So in terms of kind of enrollment and registration, the finance side, what will happen is that the university will email you, generally kind of mid-August onwards is when we start the enrollment process. And it's usually at that time you'll be asked to indicate how you intend to pay for your course. And each student will be sent details about the payment processes and the options that are available. So you can either pay the tuition fees upfront in full, so you can pay it all in one go at registration, or you can choose to pay it in installments as well. So you can pay 50% around sort of September, and then the remaining 50% in December. So up until that point, the only fee that you might have to have paid in advance is for an international deposit if you are studying for a postgraduate master's. But for undergraduate students, you don't need to pay anything until you get to the registration process.
So I have covered all the questions from the YouTube chat box. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for answering all the questions so well. Do you want to share any final words?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much to Priyanka and colleagues at SI UK for organising today's session and for giving me a chance to come and speak to you all. I hope you found it useful, and I hope I've been able to answer your questions. I believe on the screen are my contact details. So if there is anything that you want, and you maybe if you're like me, you'll think about things after the fact, then please just get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to answer anything after today. But I suppose for me, just to finish off by saying thank you very much for listening, and I hope I've given you a bit more sort of insight into what it's like to study at the University of Kent. It is a fantastic university to be part of, and lots of opportunities and lots of course options available. So I hope I've given you a bit more insight, and definitely I look forward to receiving your applications very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your valuable time, everyone. To all the audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact SI UK India office. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.